Hey guys, welcome back.
What are you gonna bump
Hey folks, how's it going? We're live once again. We've been away for a while. We were away for a week. Can you remember why we were away, Atticus?
You were going somewhere.
I was going somewhere. I can't.
Yeah.
I went to Blair Drummond Safari Park. Brilliant. I highly recommend it. It was amazing. The only thing was it pelted with hailstones for a wee while. But was actually very enjoyable, I must say. The reason that I am looking a little bit distracted right now is because I'm just putting it out on Twitter and Facebook that we are live. We're live! Who have we got today?
Caleb Valhalla, the wrestler. I'm quite excited. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm quite excited as well. I must say, I haven't watched any pro wrestling for such a long time, but so many of my mates are super into it. So I think we should just go and get them in the chat. What do you think? We'll go get them.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's load the guest. Here we go. We're live. Welcome to the podcast, Caleb. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yourselves?
I'm not too bad.
Yeah, good.
I was waiting for Atticus to answer there, but he's just silently nodding his head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at the screen. Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's going to be a fun podcast. We've got some amazing questions, so yeah, let's jump into it, Musley. Yeah.
Well, we say we've got amazing questions. I was just mentioning to Atticus that I used to be really into pro wrestling, like as a viewer, really into pro wrestling. But I haven't watched since it was probably when The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, when they were all at the top of their game. So we're talking like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So what I've done, I loved it. But a load of my mates are still really into pro wrestling. And I asked one of my good friends, who incidentally is called Stevie Ray. He is still really into pro wrestling. He provided a bunch of questions, and he specifically asked me for a shout out. Is still really into pro wrestling. Oh, hang on! I can hear my own voice. A bunch of questions. Why can I hear my own voice? Can you hear my own? Specifically asked me for a shout out. Hang on. I think. Could you hear that?
No,
it was feeding back to me. I don't know why, but it's done. It's sorted. Right, I fixed it. I could hear my own voice, and it'll probably, anyone who's watching on stream probably heard it twice as well. Anyway, my mate Stevie Ray provided some questions, and he asked me to give him a shout out. So there it is. That's his shout out, Stevie Ray. He's not the
Nailed
Stevie
it.
Ray, obviously, but he's got a bunch of questions. I've got some questions. Atticus, you've got some questions. My first question is, it's related to the training and stuff, because I am interested in general health and fitness. How hard is the training to be a pro wrestler?
Oh, good start. It's one of those things. It's not for everyone. The amount of guys I've seen. I mean, I've not been doing it long. I've 4 years with a year and a half break because of COVID, basically. Mm-hmm. But during that time period, the amount of guys I've seen come in, maybe last a few weeks, and just tap out. Maybe there's been a few that have lasted a week. You know.
Yeah.
It's a shock to the system. You're having like what for one thing, taking a bump in the ring, or to start with, you'll be doing it on mats. To do that initially, it's just like it's so unnatural to throw yourself to the floor of your own free will and intentionally be landing on your back, but trying to learn how to do that while taking the impact across your body. It's just completely unnatural, and until you do it enough that it then becomes natural. Because now I think if I fell outside on the street, I'd be bumping it by accident. I went paddleboarding once with the wife and some friends, and every time I fell off my paddle, I was bumping into the water. Everyone was like, "Why are you falling in the water like that?" I'm taking bumps. I'm bumping into the water. What the hell? So, yeah.
So is that like part of breaking your fall? Bumping, is that like
a
technique?
A bump. Yeah, a flat back bump. You're landing on your back. You're spreading it out across your shoulders, so you're landing on like the meatiest part of your back to absorb the shock throughout. So you're not hurting your lower back. Similarly, a front bump, you learn to like land a certain way to spread the impact. It's similar things. I think like even things like jiu-jitsu and stuff, you learn to fall certain ways. It's similar to that. You're learning to fall a certain way.
Yeah.
So that initially can be really strange. The actual up and down physicality of just fitness needed. That's tough, but a lot of people seem to think, "Oh, I'm not fit enough to start wrestling training." Just go, and you'll get it by doing it. There's a lot of people that start off not fit. I started off, I'd been in the gym for like 10 years by the time I started wrestling training. So I had a bit of fitness about me.
You've been in the gym 10 years.
Yeah. So we're talking 12, 14 years now of training. So, but like that gives you a head start, but you got to do it. There's nothing that compares.
Yeah.
You could do as much cardio, you could do 5Ks, you could do marathons. It's not preparing you for the same thing. It's very sport specific training.
Yeah. I find,
and even just getting used to the ring, the ring's a strange beast in itself. And hitting the ropes, the first few times you hit the ropes, you're coming away with bruises, like lines of bruises across your back, and
do you get
a lot of body tempering.
Do you get a lot of people that are super fit, and then when they try wrestling, it's like, because like you said, it's a completely different ball game. Like maybe they're really good at running, but then when they try and do like fight fitness, that they tap out really quickly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it impacts them in the same way from like if you've got a good engine, that'll help. But there's just a difference between doing it, and you'll know yourself. There's a difference between doing it and then getting hit and being like thrown about, and all of a sudden you're sore and the adrenaline's rushing. You've got to keep going. You've just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Big difference. But some people come in and do well, but there's a big part of it that's in here that you can't credit. Like some people could be fit, strong, they just don't get it up here.
Yeah. And like you said, when you can't be safe, it's like if you're really fit going out for a run, well, if you're ever too out of breath, you just stop. But if you're in the ring, the only thing that can stop you is the ref or the bell.
Yeah, that's
or
it.
Physically being knocked out, I suppose. But
but and even then, sometimes you got to keep going when you're knocked silly. You
have to get back up and go again.
Yeah, I've seen people like I've been like. I've took a kick to the gut and been super winded and literally rolled to the other side of the ring, said to the ref, "Tell him to give me a minute," just to get my breath back. So then the other guy knew to just like show out a little bit, and then it's like, cool, let's go again, But shit happens, man. You can take a bad one, you can get clocked. My last match, I took a clothesline to the throat a little bit, and it was like, oh, that sucks. It's like 2-3 days of struggling to swallow after that.
Yeah.
But
and then, so in order to get this fit, like I mentioned, you look like you've been in the gym for 10 years because you have. You can't get big without a lot of food. So what's your diet like?
Oh man. Oh, my lockdown diet was great. I had pizza every day for a year. Like, no joke. I had maybe not a whole pizza, but I'd at least have like half a pizza or a few slices or something. Like before lockdown, I was 205 pounds, and now I'm about 220. But during lockdown, I wanted to gain some size so I could then cut back. So I got up to like 230, just over 230 pounds. And for that, I was eating 5,000 calories a day.
Really?
And I hooked myself up, like me and the wife both like lifting. So like she's into powerlifting as well and things like that. So start of lockdown, we're like gym equipment in our little shed outside. Barbell. We've got 170 kilos in plates. We've got those switchable dumbbells up to 32.5. Like a little pulley system, which is really kind of it's pretty primitive, but it did the job. So we're like, let's just go all out. Not doing much other than work and sitting about. So just training every day and eating 5,000 calories and
brilliant.
Put on a good amount of size, hopefully. So
sounds like a dream.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
That's brilliant. And
I kind of tied in with this actually, and I think like a lot of young people would actually be really curious about this as well, which is obviously as well as food, you take like protein and things like that as well. Most people do when they're bulking up, and creatine and things like that, and vitamins. What specific ones is it that you take, or would you recommend?
I like to keep it pretty simple, just with like creatine, multivitamin, fish oil, and like protein powder. Obviously, I don't really think of protein powder as a supplement. I think of it more of it's just like part of my diet. Whereas the other stuff is like more supplementary. But that's the key. Like, there's focus on the lifting, focus on a progressive like kind of overload with your lifting. So you're actually like, there's some kind of progression with what you're doing. So you're getting stronger, especially someone starting out. Focus on getting stronger. Don't focus on building heaps of muscle because it's a long, slow process. Like after lifting for 10 years, I started to be somewhat happy with my body. I'm still not there, but I don't think I'll ever be happy. So it's literally a case of just focus on getting stronger, because that's a nice measurable thing. You can't measure, well, I mean, you could measure the size of your arms and stuff like that, but you can't really measure it week to week or month to month. That's like down the year, like 3 years down the line, you'll be like, yeah, I've added this much muscle, hopefully. But like, you can nice and easily focus on the progression of getting stronger. Oh, I did that weight for an extra rep, or I did an extra set with that weight and it was better technique. I moved the barbell faster. Nice and easy things like that. And then over time, those little things add up. Over 10 years, you'll maybe be somewhat happy. But creatine, vitamins, fish oil, vitamin D because we're in Scotland. So that's don't overcomplicate it. A lot of people overcomplicate fitness, and they mostly overcomplicate it to confuse you. So you have to then pay for a personal trainer or something like that.
Oh yeah, big money in the fitness game.
Oh yeah.
One of the most simple things I like, and that a lot of people are really confused by, is whether you gain weight or lose weight. It's just calories in minus calories out, and if you've got a positive number, you'll gain weight. If it's negative, you'll lose weight. So if you're in a calorie deficit, you'll lose weight. Positive, you're going to gain weight. It's really as simple as that.
And one day doesn't matter. Like one day you can be over your calories, but if you're in a deficit for over the month, you're going to lose weight that month. One day doesn't mean shit compared to like what you're doing for months and months and months.
Yeah. And like specific to weight loss, I mean, I'm saying this because I needed to lose weight recently. I don't look like I needed to because I'm just a wee boy, but I was needing almost a wardrobe change. And now that I've mentioned this, I've forgotten what I was away to say because I started speaking about myself. But yeah, it's like it's a lifestyle change rather than I need to cut out some food for a week and then I'll be skinny again. It's like it needs to be a mentality that you eat a certain amount. Like if you want to maintain your weight, your calories need to be maintained, balanced.
Yeah, and you can still eat the things you like. Like I ate pizza for a year.
Yeah,
I like pizza.
That's a fair goal, I would say.
I obviously don't recommend that if you're trying to limit your calories because pizza's high in calories, but
And if you want to live beyond your 60s, maybe.
Yeah.
I was going to say, they were the main questions I was really interested in. Some of the questions that my mate Stevie Ray provided cover a lot of the things I was interested in as well, but these are like pretty wrestling specific stuff. So let me just rattle through these questions and then because it is kind of like not quick fire. I mean, you could really go into depth with some of these, but he's given us quite a lot. And then I'll hand you over to Atticus, who's got his own question. So, first one, what are your 3 favourite matches you've seen as a fan of wrestling?
Oh Christ. Obviously, I'm going to straight away pop in Shawn Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's hard to choose. Typically, the first one's seen as the better one, but the thing I love about them is, like, obviously they're great matches, but the reaction of just like sitting in a room watching it with my mates, because we watch WrestleMania together every year, and just one of my mates is a massive Undertaker fan, and every false finish he was all in on. He was like jumping out his seat and like just to have that kind of emotional response. That's awesome. After that, I'd probably say Cactus Jack and Triple H at Royal Rumble 2000, because I was a massive Mick Foley fan. He's my all-time favorite, and how emotionally invested I was in all his matches was, you know, he made me feel things. After that, there's so many. I don't know if I can choose any. Maybe Brett and Austin at Mania 30. Is it 13? With the double switch where he passes out from the sharpshooter, the blood running down his face. It's a masterpiece. It's that double switch. It made Austin. It sealed Bret Hart as the heel going forward. It was just fantastic storytelling all throughout. I'd probably say those 3 is probably. I mean, it'll change next week, but
yeah, aye. That's some brilliant answers. They're like from the era where I was really into it as well. Bret Hart was my all-time favorite. Absolutely loved him. Just his class was incredible as well. All right, that's a brilliant answer to the first question. And you touched on some of the further questions. Which wrestlers would you say have the most influenced your ring style, character, attire, and promos? So not necessarily your all-time favourites, but which have influenced you, and in what way?
That's a tough one. I obviously like a hoss. I'm a big fan of the hosses in the ring. You know, like the Steiner brothers and the Legion of Doom, that kind of stuff. You know, like just big lads throwing guys about. I love that kind of stuff. Brock Lesnar more recently as well. Just him manhandling guys. Obviously, I'm only 5'10", maybe 5'11" in my boots, so I don't have the same kind of height.
Yeah.
But although that kind of leads on, because I don't know if I'm allowed to mention Chris Benoit, but you know, like he was the same height as me, so
he was rabid enough to make it work.
So like, but obviously he was working in a generation of giants as well, whereas now typically wrestlers aren't always as tall. But you still obviously have your guys like Braun Strowman who are just beasts and all that. But I always looked at Benoit kind of like his aggressiveness and how him and Eddie Guerrero, both smaller guys, just so intense in the ring. That I quite like them as well for that kind of thing. A few guys in Japan as well, like Tomohiro Ishii. Love watching his stuff. Shibata, although I don't really steal as much from him, but he's just great to watch. It could be all over. I could probably say little bits here and there from everyone, really. Triple H as well. I don't really work. Well, I've been working heel quite a bit previously, but I've never been full heel, if that makes sense. I've kind of been a pseudo heel.
What does it mean? Because
heel. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know a lot of the technical terms.
If I drop any wrestling terminology you don't understand, just ask me to clarify. But you've got your heels, which are your bad guys, and you've got your baby faces, which are your good guys. And everyone thinks I'm just a natural baby face. Like anyone talks to me, like, okay, so you're clearly a baby face. I'm like, well, I've kind of been booked as a heel for the most part, but it's more because I've been aligned with a heel. In the company in Aberdeen. So going forward, I think I'm going to be working a lot of places as a babyface. I work so much better as a babyface. I'm too smiley.
Too nice.
I'm too
too lovable.
People And like people tend to, whenever I'm doing stuff in the ring, if I'm throwing someone about, they enjoy it, so it's hard for them to boo because just watched him launch a wee guy. That's great.
How can you hate that? Yeah, it kind of brings me to something that I had intended on asking, but I totally forgot. Is if you are the heel, now I know the lingo.
There we go.
How do you handle that? Like, it must be tough to be booed week in, week out, and to be hated, and especially for the super big, the big names, to be hated by all the wrestling fans. I suppose real wrestling fans know that it's part of the game.
Yeah,
How'd
but
you
you'll have fans who know it's the role and they're playing their role by booing you.
Yeah.
And then obviously you do get some people that just hate you. Like we do have like some people I know they love being booed. It's like they know their role. They know if I get this reaction, I'm doing my stuff well. I'm doing my job right if they're booing. So it's nice and easy for them to compartmentalize it. And then you've got some people who just aren't generally people persons. Like they don't particularly care if they get booed or cheered or whatever. They just enjoy wrestling, want to wrestle. It's all sorts. I would say like I feel a bit more like a people person. So I'm like looking forward to being a face and actually getting to like a halftime of a show, maybe going out and having kids come up and want something signed or something like that. Like that's the kind of stuff I haven't done yet. I'm looking forward to doing, but I know there are guys who hate that.
Yeah.
Who just want to go and wrestle and that's it.
So maybe the heel is perfect for them.
Yeah, some people are just natural heels. And I'm a natural face, I think. So
it's so interesting. I'm learning so much. This is brilliant. All right, that's great answers as well. I love that. That's so good. Okay, this is a very wrestling knowledgeable question. How did you choose your current moveset?
I mean, some of it is what you like. So, if you like a certain style, you'll in training try more of those moves. For me, it's like, you go into training, you try it. Does it look good? Can I do it safely? Can I do it 10 times out of 10?
Yeah.
And if so, cool. I'll add it into the list of moves that I might throw out or, pull out if I need. Then obviously the moves that look really good, that's the ones you kind of want to either use as a finisher or, as a near fall later on in the match, or maybe part of your comeback. You want your best stuff to come towards the end, for the most part, because the end's when things are getting really intense. The crowd will hopefully be up for it. You're getting the crowd on the edge of their seat by that point. The start of the match, you'll throw out some of these moves here and there, and it'll maybe be a nice little pop here and there for the crowd. But ideally, you want your best stuff coming at the end. So you kind of think, well, at least I thought. Maybe other people do it differently. I don't know, but like I thought, can I do it? Is there someone else, wrestling on the shows that I'm on that does it or does it better? Because you don't want to have the crowd seeing the same move in every single match.
Yeah.
Unless it's something like a body slam, which is fairly generic.
Yeah.
Although even for me, doing a body slam can be different than a smaller guy doing a quick body slam. He would most typically do a body slam to go do something else.
Yeah.
Whereas I can use a body slam as
like a proper
get the fuck
statement. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like how do you make things different and make them your own? So yeah, safety first. Does it look good? Does it make sense? Like if you're a little guy doing a big power move, like if you're 160 pounds and you're trying to do a gorilla press, maybe you could do it.
Yeah.
But does it make sense?
If you could do it, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Especially with someone of your size and weight, that'd be impressive.
I go up pretty light, I think. I reckon I could get up for someone, but it's because there's a big onus on you taking the move to make it look good as well. So I reckon I could get up for someone 160 pounds, but yeah, does it make sense? Nah, probably not.
Yeah, because it might look too like unrealistic almost.
Yeah.
And
you're telling people it's fake at that point. You don't want to tell people it's fake because You're ruining the entire show.
Most of the time, people really are being lifted and slammed
Yeah.
and properly, thrown about the place. So if you really have to jump to make that work, it's probably not a good idea. That's great answers. I love that. And what you were saying about saving some of your signature moves for the end as well. I just always think of The Rock when he's got his guy on the deck and he tucks his arm in with his feet, and then he throws his elbow pad out into the crowd, and it's coming. That's brilliant. And it's always near the end. You know what's coming. I love that. That was brilliant. Right, next questions. What we've got? This could be an interesting one, actually. What are your goals in the industry, and what would your ultimate dream be?
Lots of little goals. Like the first goal was always just, get on a show, wrestle in front of a crowd, all that kind of stuff. So it's everything from there has kind of been a bonus thereafter. Because once I like to have a goal that you can, get to, and then it's like, okay, on to the next thing. Yeah. So I never really focus on like the big goal, because if you just, focus on the next one that you can attain, have some fun, then, you notch them up and it's great. Whereas if you're constantly focusing on, I need to get to WWE, I need to do that, then you're putting all this pressure on yourself to pretend, the vast majority of people aren't going to make it there. If that's your dream, it's such a small percentage of people that do make it there, or make it big there, that you're setting yourself up to fail. Like, it's cool to have it as the ultimate goal, but don't make it the focus of everything that you're doing, because you just stress yourself out. Like, this is stressful enough in wrestling. You got to worry about going out there in like your pants, every week, or you got to worry about oh, I'm working this guy, and what we're going to do in the match. Just focus on those things, and everything else comes along. But I mean, ultimately, I would love to be able to just do it as a career. If I could one day give up the day job and say I am 100% a professional wrestler, that's my job, nothing else. That'd be cool. Whether that be getting a contract at like AEW, NXT, WWE, whether it's doing indies everywhere, just wherever it is, it would be cool.
Brilliant. This is actually quite a relevant. His next question was, does seeing Drew McIntyre become so successful in being the champ, does it give you hope? Because he did the independent circuit as well. He's from Scotland. Does that give you a bit more hope that the dream is achievable?
Yeah, I think there's a generation of wrestlers who never saw the route to WWE as a possibility. I see it with some of the older guys that are on shows that if they had maybe started 10 years later, if they were 10 years younger, they could have potentially followed those kind of routes. But nowadays, seeing Drew at that level, and not just him, but just like, it's just unbelievable seeing someone from Air, now at the top of WWE, and he's, it's just wild to think, and it does let you see that there are those doors open now if you put in the work. Same with Nikki Cross, she's made it to that level, and again opening doors for women. The women's wrestling now is as good, if not sometimes better, when you watch some of them. It's great to have that kind of, they've walked that path. You have to put in the work, and it's a possibility as well.
Yeah, it kind of shows that it is possible. Anything's possible. Like you say, people 10 years ago maybe never had that, or never knew that such a thing was possible. Yeah, because how would someone who wants to get into wrestling now, and they wanted to get to WWE, they might have been thinking, well, it's impossible. I'm just a wee guy from Scotland. There's no way that they'll ever find me. So it's almost like the path has been laid. Yeah,
and obviously with NXT UK now as well. I mean, that's getting people in the door, and once you're there, people like William Regal, Shawn Michaels, they see you, yeah, it's just insane to think like the guy my coach down in Fife. I go down to Fife for training, and the guy Andy Wilder, he's been down to NXT UK, and has worked alongside these guys, and it's like he's coming back with all the drills from those guys, and it's like it's insane to think he's like there's like 1 degree of separation there.
Yeah,
it's
you're so close to it.
Yeah, it's there. If people put in the work, it could be there for people.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of how close you are to it, this is my mate Stevie Ray. Another shout out. His next question was: have you ever met any of your wrestling heroes?
I sure have. Yeah. Good old Mick Foley.
Really?
Yeah, I met Mick, and the whole trope of "don't meet your heroes" is absolute bullshit. He is the coolest.
It must depend on which hero you have, though, because.
Yes, yeah.
I imagine he's amazing. Like I used to love him as well.
He's just the nicest guy. My wife, it was me and my wife went down to the Inside the Ropes thing with Undertaker and him. So like that all changed. That was a whole thing. So we met Undertaker as well, but he wasn't really chatting or anything. But it was a case of meeting the Undertaker. Holy shit, he's huge. Shook his hand, and his hand was like a shovel, just engulfing my entire... I felt like a child shaking this giant man's hand. So that was cool to meet him. But like I say, like actually meeting and speaking to Mick was amazing. My wife had just had an operation as well. She got her... I think it was maybe her gallbladder. She had like 3 things in a short period of time. So I think it was her gallbladder that she got removed that time. And it was like a week later, we went down to this, and she was like, "No, we'll definitely go." So we went along. And as soon as he found out that she, was braving it after her operation, and what else? She's a teacher as well. So he was delighted, like, oh, he's totally into education. He was asking her questions and that, and like at that point, I don't think I was on shows, but I was training to be a wrestler. So it was like one of those cool things. It was like, oh, I'm actually training to do this, and you're one of the reasons I'm doing it. And he was like, oh, that's so cool to hear. He was really nice to her. He gave us some extra stuff because she was going on the mend, and still braved it. So he was just so cool. He signed everything and chatted to us for probably too long, so the people next in line were probably annoyed, but
hating your guts. You've hogged all this time.
But yeah, he's just like the nicest guy. And yeah, it's so cool to have actually met him. Yeah, I don't think I've met in a passive way, kind of met the entire TNA roster once as well, which is an interesting story. We went down to the TNA show that they did, late 2000s maybe? I can't remember, but like Kurt Angle was there. There was Booker T for sure, Rhino, Hernandez. There's a whole bunch of guys around about that period. So we went to the show. Great show. I had a good few drinks. Then me and my mates went back to our room, our hotel. We were in there and we're like, oh, we're a little bit peckish. We'll go down to that takeaway place down there. So we left the place, went over in the takeaway, like, oh, ordered our food. All of a sudden, this big tour bus pulls out outside. And all the TNA guys come in and they're getting food after the show, and it was just like, holy shit,
brilliant!
This is awesome. And they ended up like, I can't remember who it was. There was like 2 of the guys ended up like kind of mini scrapping in the place, and ended up like almost going through the window. Like they ended up leaning on the window, and the weight of them just bowed the window out. It was like, but that was pretty cool. But like obviously didn't really bother them or chat to them much there. It was just hey, great show tonight, guys, kind of thing, But they all seemed
want to be conscious of not annoying them on their time off.
Especially when they're wrestling in the middle of this place.
Almost throwing each other through windows.
Yeah. And they like each other, I'm assuming. So
yeah, what could they do to you? I was going to ask actually. Speaking of Mick Foley, it's so interesting that he's one of your heroes. I was wondering, is there anything you wouldn't do in a wrestling match? Because Mick Foley has done some sick and supremely painful stuff, like pins in the face, cutting himself with light bulbs, broken light bulbs and smashed glass, cutting his tongue open, stuff that I would just flat refuse to do. Would you go there?
I don't know if deathmatch wrestling's for me. Or, no, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I know, in the moment, in a match, you can sometimes just go for things that you typically outside of the match or in training would shit the bed at. But in the match, adrenaline running, you just go with it. But I don't think I would intentionally be like, yeah, sign me up for a death match, guys.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I'll be good at. No, like I'm not really good with blood or anything like that. Like I got my blood taken once with like a little pinprick test, and the woman gave me the pinprick, and then started squeezing it to get the blood out, and then I passed out.
She must have found it hilarious.
Yeah, so I came to with this woman like rubbing my hand. And it felt like someone just like hard reset me, and I was booting back up. And as I'm booting back up, I'm just like, "Who the fuck is rubbing my hand?" And I was like, "Oh, I passed out." So I ain't good with that. And another time I went to get blood taken, up at the hospital once, the woman put the tourniquet on my arm, and I just felt like these veins starting to pop up. And she like turned round to get the needle and everything to draw it, turned back, and I was like that. It's just out. So as I was coming to, she was like, "Oh, do you want me to do it again later? You can come back." And I was like, "No, I'm barely here. Just take what you need. I won't remember it."
Should have did it while you were out.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not great with that kind of stuff. I'm sure, like I've had my nose busted open or my lip busted open, in training and things like that. So I'm okay with that. In general, but. Again, adrenaline at the time, you just push through. But I don't think I'll be agreeing to much crazy stuff. Like,
it'd have to be an offer you couldn't refuse.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like my shot at the big time and I've got to take a bump onto pins, no problem, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But if it's just like a small show, with like maybe 100 people in the crowd, I'm not going to do anything too daft.
Yeah.
I've got a wife and kid. I'm not going to.
That's it. Responsibility.
Not going to. Yeah.
You see some of the videos on YouTube that I've seen some, and there are these guys. I don't know if it's a backyard wrestling or if it's a different, just a couple of guys messing about, but they're doing some crazy things. Like they're just in their back garden doing backflips onto tables and things, and they're clearly really hurting themselves. For what? Like a few views on YouTube. Well, millions of views, admittedly, but still. Which kind of brings to the next question. What's the worst injury you've ever sustained?
I think I've been okay so far in matches. Touch wood. Like I've been training. Like did like a flip and rolled over a guy's back, landed and went to start running, and my quad just went pop.
Ooh.
And I thought I'd maybe torn it, but I think it was just a strain. And then like I was wrestling on a show like a week later, and it wasn't my best showing. I was clearly a little bit I wouldn't say lethargic, but I was moving gingerly, but got through it fine. So it wasn't too bad, thankfully. I've sprained my ankle, simple little things like that. There's nothing too devastating so far. Touch wood.
Thank goodness, aye.
Yeah. Maybe I'm too safe. Maybe I need to be taking crazy bumps through.
Need to up the game.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Get the broken glass involved. Oh no. All right, final question from Stevie Ray, my friend, is what is your finishing move? How did you choose it? And what other moves were your finishers before you settled on this one?
Good one. So it's like a swinging side slam. It's hard to really describe it. I grab the guy by the wrist, pull him up here, swing him around like that, and then plant him down like that. And I go down to a knee.
But for anyone who hasn't seen it, yeah, it's a cool move. Like it kind of reminded me a little bit of like rock bottom, but you pick them up and swing them into it.
Yeah. So I kind of, to be honest, I started it. I don't know if you can hear my kid crying in the background there. That might be
It's very quiet. Just carry on.
So originally, I was just trying it as a backbreaker to do just from here to do that, to put them onto my knee, to land on my knee. And what happened is I put the wrong knee down, and I just slammed him. And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." and that was kind of it. From there on, I just kept using it. I thought that works the finisher. It ends in a nice position where I'm almost like, superhero stance down to a knee, hand down. I thought that's pretty cool. I'm into that. Then with the pulling the guy up, there's obviously ways in and out of it that you can do. So I could try pulling him up, and he could slide through my legs, or that wrist claim can have a few different ways for them to get out. And then once they're up, you can obviously like get elbowed to put them down, or you can go to swing them, they can land on their feet. Just something to have. Like a good finisher has like multiple ways in and out. So you can tease it, you can play with it, you can like go for it, they get out, something happens, you pull them in again, they do the other thing to get out, and then finally you get it. That's a nice way to tell a story. That I'm going from a big move. Why wouldn't I? Because every time I do it, I win.
Yeah.
But every time I go for it, he gets out, or something happens, or so when he gets out, I have to go for something else to then hopefully get him again. But then he wiggles out, it's a nice way to have something. Like if you've just got a move and it's like, well, how many ways in and out do you have? What can we do with it?
Yeah. If there's no escape, as soon as you get it in motion, it's like, well, everyone knows what comes next.
Yeah. There's
Whereas,
no
like
drama.
You say, if you've got the potential for an escape, they're like, oh, is he going to get it if he does escape, or if he reverses it, or whatever? It's brilliant.
That's why high risk move, like when someone goes to the top rope, it's always high risk. It's like, is he going to get it? Are they going to move? That's the excitement. It's no fun when they're going to hit it.
There. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's all the questions that I was provided. That's answered a lot of the sort of things I had in my mind as well. Anyway, it's probably covered a lot of the stuff you were going to ask, Atticus. Did it?
A lot of it, yeah. I've been scoring off my questions as we've been going along, because we're not repeating the same things. But I've still got a couple. But I'll have to be quick, though, because we're approaching 45 minutes. And so I guess the first question I want to know is, what would be your dream tag team match? Who would you choose as your dream partner, and who would you wrestle?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Oh man. Let's go for it being against Edge and Christian, because fantastic tag team. And they're both still going, and possibly as good or maybe even better than they ever have been. It's timeless. Both great single guys, both great. One of the best tag teams ever. Let's say them. And man, who am I picking as my partner? See, it's like, do I pick someone small to have like a strength and speed dynamic, or do I pick someone who's also strong and then we can just chuck them about? That's the. This is tough. You've caught me for a loop. I've never thought about who would I pick as a tag team partner. You know what? Let's keep it Scottish. Let's go Drew.
There we go.
There we go.
Big strong
Let's
boy.
go Drew. Yeah. He's nice. Bigger and stronger than me. Great. I'll do the running about.
You could be the agile one, yeah.
For a change, why not?
It kind of, while you were thinking and struggling to think of who you would choose, how does it work? Do you choose your tag team partners, or are they given? Is it like part of the promotion? They would choose it and develop that.
There are some guys who go about as like tag teams, like I'm thinking Scotland. There's a few guys who will get booked round about Scotland as a tag team, and sometimes they'll get booked individually as well. And then sometimes you'll get booked in a match at a promotion. Maybe they'll just want to fill the card with another match, or say they want two guys to go in against an established tag team to maybe get the tag team over. You might get thrown in a match with, another random guy. And then you've got the nice story there of established tag team versus two guys who don't really work together as a team. So it can work various ways. It depends very much on the promotion and what they're wanting to achieve. A lot of the time, you get offered a booking, it's like you don't get sometimes you don't get very much creative control in it. You know, you just like they want me to go do that job. Cool, I'll go do that job. And that's what it is. You know, it's not about you as a person. If they're wanting you to do that role, you can either say, cool, I'll do that thing you want me to do, or, you know, don't do it. Don't take the job.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
yeah.
You mentioned earlier about heels and baby faces. Now, I'm just curious. This is a question. If myself and Musley were wrestlers, let's say we were to wrestle, which one of us would be the heel and which one of us would be the baby face and why? And I think that would help kind of break it down a little bit.
I know the answer to this, but I'll save it for later.
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm gonna say Musley as the face, and then Atticus as the heel. And I'm going to base it purely just on your styles and what a family friendly crowd would probably look at and say, you know, I'll cheer that. You know, kind of he's clean shaven. You know, he's got a background in some form of you know, fighting, so he's clearly, you know, going to be good. Okay, but then you would be the nasty, dirty piece of shit heel that would probably. You'd take out his leg, you know, you'd be working his leg, you'd pull him out, you'd wrap it around the ring post, you know, you'd do all that sneaky little, you know, heel stuff to take him out because if he's standing on both feet, he's a well-known, you know, he's a good boxer, so if he's on his feet, both feet, and he catches you with a punch, you're done for. So you're that sneaky heel that's gonna take out a body part so he can't, you know, get his full force in his punch. And then the crowd's going to want him to be able to come back and get on both feet. And just think, if he gets him with one punch, all he needs is one punch. And then every time he goes for it, you duck under, you know, you go back to the leg, and no. But then at the end, he finally gets it.
This.
There you go. That's your match book, boys.
That's brilliant. I was going to say that my answer was way simpler. It was just, well, you're bald, and the bald guys are always the bad guys.
Hey, Goldberg, Stone Cold, both bald.
True. And then a lot of the heels have been very well-haired guys. But yeah, in films, it's normally bald guys, is it?
Yeah.
That's actually really clever. It's like a Kurt Angle. Like, do we make like a big deal about he might be getting injured. He's an Olympic wrestler and so on. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now my next question. I think I'll skip this one because we're kind of running short on time. So we're planning on doing a little bit of filming soon, actually, right? Which is going to be a lot of fun. Actually, I've got tears in my eyes from laughing. This is quite good fun. Just to bring Musley to you, right? Could I recreate the Thunder Lips scene from Rocky 3? Where you throw him about the ring for my entertainment, so I can film it to put in our intro.
No problem. No problem there.
Yes.
I'm all in on that.
You'll have to teach me how to land without dying.
Oh man, yeah. I'll be Thunder Lips for you anytime. Just you tell me when.
Perfect.
I'm completely serious, Musley. Sorry.
You sprung it on me. I never agreed to this. As long as there's no broken glass, I'll take part.
Excellent.
We'll give you a crash course training day. You know, an hour learning how to bump, and then we'll film. There you go.
Perfect.
My next question would be: do you have any questions for us?
I mean, first off, I'd like to know, Musley, if that boxing stuff is real. That, you know, that like WBF kind of stuff is that real? Is that are those gloves really padded so you don't actually feel anything?
That is true. The gloves are padded. In the amateurs, you wear head guards, and recent news as well. A lot of the Olympic matches are fixed, so there's big. Yeah, there are. Joe Joyce was robbed out of a gold medal. They say that AJ won his gold medal through match fixing. So there is a lot of conspiracy and a lot of corruption, and so it's not all not fake, if that makes sense.
So the outcome's predetermined, but you're actually getting hit.
Yeah. You a lot of the time, yeah. You're putting yourself out there to get properly messed up, or you might do the messing up and still lose.
Well,
terrible.
Similarities there.
And
Maybe you'll make a good wrestler.
Yeah, I don't think I'm strong enough, or fit enough anymore.
You're there.
No, in seriousness though, like how is it like? I know what it's like taking a bad one in a match and like having to keep going. So like, how is it when you are getting punched in the face or like a gut shot and you're struggling to breathe? Like how you must have to find that extra bit of something inside you to keep pushing through. Like how have you found that? Obviously, you don't do it anymore, do you?
Yeah, no, I'm retired. Oh, I haven't had a boxing match for over 10 years, maybe 12 years now. But I do remember there was a few specific fights I had. One in particular was, what was his name? Gary Young, I think his name was. He eventually went pro. I never turned pro. I was never good enough for that, but this guy did, and he battered me silly for 3 or 4 rounds. And it was 4 rounds because it was the Scottish Championship finals, and he battered me silly, and I knew I was losing, and I could have just took a knee and let the ref count it out. But there's something about the not the embarrassment of losing, but there's like a pride in the fact that I reached the final bell, and there was a lot of folk that came up to me after it as well and were like, oh my God, you have got some chin. You took a fair hiding and went the distance. That was incredible. And that's happened a few. In fact, I had 2 Muay Thai fights. And my first Muay Thai fight, I got scalped about the ring. I had so many leg kicks that I couldn't walk for 2 weeks. Like, honestly, I couldn't walk for 2 weeks after it. And again, it was just like a pride thing. Like, I will not be stopped. I don't know what it is. If it's kind of like a fear of embarrassment, and it is just, you've got to keep going. Otherwise, you look like a weakling, and all your friends are watching. And even if you lose, folk will respect it, and they'll be proud of you for battling through it. But if you just quit, there's something embarrassing about just giving up.
Like I don't know if it's similar, but like obviously with wrestling there's also a performance aspect, but in general when I'm in the ring I am not me. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. And it's maybe the same, even more so maybe if you're you know in those kind of positions. But like my wife the other day said she's amazed like at how that switch kind of turns, and like she's amazed that I'm in there, and like she knew I'd physically be capable, but because she's the one that's actually signed me up for starting to train. Right. Like she saw the training place posting on social media and was like, "Why aren't you doing this?" And I was like, "I didn't know it was there." So she was like, "You're doing it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." But she didn't expect me to be as good at the performing side of things, even though she knew I was like into drama at school and like performed in plays at school, and like I was in a band for a period. She still didn't expect that performing side, but it's like very much like once you get in the ring, like I'm saying, I'm not sure if it's the same issue, but like you're not the person that you are outside of the ring once you're in there.
I totally understand. Yeah, and there are a lot of people. Like for me, I got to a stage where I did go into the ring as the same, like I never had to flick a switch to put the performance on. But there are a lot of people like Alexander Usyk, who just beat AJ at the weekend. Out of the ring, he's a total clown, a total joker, all smiley, but you can tell there's a little switch that flicks when he's in the ring, and it's like a totally different character. And he could, you think he's cold-blooded. He's so different to how he is out of the ring. That can't be the same person. Oh, well. Atticus, you got anything to say?
The question, I was obviously going to wrap up soon, as that's over 5 minutes now. So the last question was just basically, which I think that you're obviously going to have something that you're going to want to promote after our message that you sent last night. So your plans for the future and anything that you want the public to be aware of, anything that you want to promote, and that's it.
No, I mean, one of the things that's really cool right now is wrestling is coming back with what I perceive as a boom. Anyways, like I wasn't sure if it would or not, because obviously people are sometimes a bit uncertain with COVID about going to things right now, which is totally understandable. But the shows that I've all been kind of part of, or have coming up, they're selling out everywhere, which is really cool to see. So yeah, have wherever you are, have a look for a local wrestling show, especially if I'm on the poster. Go support it, go check it out, see what's happening. Everyone's really excited just to be back and putting on the best shows that we can. I know the next show coming up I've got in Aberdeen, we're all looking at our matches going, we're going to try and steal a show here. We're going to have an awesome match. We're going to have 18 months of built up frustration. We're going to let it all out. Then I also had my debut. Well, I've only ever wrestled for WrestleZone in Aberdeen so far, so I've got other companies all around looking to book me now. So I'm going to be in Edinburgh this month. I'm going to be in Edinburgh for Discovery, which is sold out. Then towards the end of October, I'm going to be in Livingston for Reckless Intent, and then I'm going to be in Perth for FCW. So getting about. And a few weeks ago, I had my debut for ICW in Glasgow, which last night went up on the WWE Network. So if you go check out the WWE Network and look at the independents, check out the latest ICW Fight Club, you'll be able to check out the second match of that show, which is Caleb Valhalla versus Sheik El Sham. And you can see me throw about a big lad and get thrown about by a big lad.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, support local wrestling.
Definitely. That was a brilliant little plug there. I'm really interested to check it out as well. I think my cousin, Andrew Reed's he's a massive fan. He'll definitely be a subscriber of the WWE Network. So I'll ask him to give me his password and we'll check it out. So
Brilliant.
That's all we've got time for, unfortunately. But that's been a brilliant podcast. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it, guys. Thanks very much for having me.
And everyone who's watched and anyone who watches the replay of this podcast, check him out. You can get it on the WWE Network. If you look out for Caleb Valhalla, if he's ever wrestling, definitely get tickets. Definitely check the streams or the videos, whatever it is. And we'll see you all next time. Peace out.